Kia ora koutou, I am the Casual Kiwi and this is my Lyrilusc 1000 deck that I've been really enjoying testing at my locals, so let's jump right into the profile. So first you want to have 3 turquoise warbler, 3 sapphire and 3 cobalt. You need to run all 9 of these as they are the only main deck Lyriluscs and your main combo pieces. Turquoise is my personal favourite. It's kind of the main starter of the deck and a quasi sort of monster reborn. So if you control no monsters, you can special summon this card. If special summoned from the hand, you can special summon 1 Lyrilusc monster from your hand or graveyard. You can only use this effect of Lyrilusc Turquoise Warbler once per turn. Moving on to Sapphire. So Sapphire can special summon both this card and 1 level 1 Winged Beast type monster from your hand. You can only use this effect of Lyrilusc Sapphire Swallow once per turn. Sapphire also has the additional effect that a Winged Beast XYZ monster with this card can target 1 Lyrilusc in the graveyard and attach it as XYZ material, which can be very useful as Lyrilusc XYZ monsters want as much material as possible. And finally, Cobalt is the searcher of the deck, or the main searcher anyway. When special summoned, you can add 1 level 1 Winged Beast type monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Like Sapphire, it also has an effect when used for an XYZ of a Winged Beast type monster, which is that your opponent cannot target it. So that is the core of the deck. So next we'll move on to the secondary engine I'm using here, which is a Time Lord engine, which can be very useful for stall and putting additional burn damage on board while you build up Lyriluscs in the hand. I run 3 Time Maiden. This can be tributed to search for a Time Lord from the deck to my hand. It also counts as 2 tributes for a Time Lord, though they'll almost never come up. You can also banish this from your graveyard to special summon a Time Lord directly from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. But you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect. What you'll usually be bringing out with Time Maiden is Mishion the Time Lord or Lazion the Time Lord. All Time Lords can be normal summoned from the hand if you control no monsters and have the effect that they cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect, and neither player takes any battle damage from battles involving Time Lords. If they battled at the end of the battle phase, they can activate an effect. And Mishion halves your opponent's life points. So during your next standby phase, they're shuffled back into the deck and you can go off with your Lyrilusc plays. Lazion also has an additional ability that he can once per turn burn your opponent for 1000 damage. So if you have to go first, Lazion is particularly good and we can play another card it combos well with, but we'll cover that when we get to the spells. So following the Time Lords, we have our hand traps. I personally play 3 DD Crow and 2 Effect Veiler. So as well as all being level 1s, DD Crow is searchable by Cobalt as it's a Winged Beast. I also play, in addition to these, 3 Lava Golem. So you may prefer to play Kaijus as it does take away your normal summon, but I just find it works so well with this deck. Being able to burn your opponent again for an additional 1000 during each of their standby phases and being able to take out 2 of their monsters is just good card advantage. So I'm glad to include those in the deck. So that's 22 main deck monsters. So onto the spells. We run 2 Terraforming and 2 Altar of the Mind's Eye. So these are very much kind of the main support of the deck. So what Mind's Eye does is it makes all battle damage equal to 1000, and this synergizes really well with the Lyrilusc XYZ monster Assembled Nightingale, and helps to protect from being OTK'd if your opponent gets over your Time Lords or your Lyriluscs. Yep, so that's that. So then we also run 3 Instant Fusion and 3 Contract with Don 1000. So I really love this card. When this card is activated, both players lose 1,000 life points, and if they do, each draws 1 card. All cards that are drawn while this card's effect is applied must remain revealed. While a player's spell card in their hand is revealed by this effect, that player cannot normal summon / set monsters. You can only activate once per turn. That's not too much of a problem. Most of our monsters special summon anyway. But this card pairs so well with Lazion. So if you normal summon the Time Lord, then play this. Lazion will burn them for the draw, and then when it moves to their turn, they'll be burned again for their main draw, meaning that for the cost of 1,000 life points, your opponent will be losing 3,000 life points. We also play Foolish Burial and 1-for-1. Again, these are just good one-ofs. From the spells, we move on to the traps. So we don't play many traps in this deck. We only play 3 Secret Blasts and 3 Magic Cylinder. And not just for the memes. So Magic Cylinder, of course, converts your opponent's attack into effect damage, equal to the original attack of the attacking monster. So if they do attack with a high-powered monster while Alt is on the field, they would potentially be taking far more than 1,000 damage, especially if they attack with Lava Golem. I also think that Secret Blast is very underrated. So what it does, for those who don't know, is it inflicts 300 damage to your opponent for each card they control. So that includes spells and traps as well as monsters. If this card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. Yeah, this will discourage your opponent from randomly twistering your back row, but unlike Waking the Dragon, this can be proactively activated to burn your opponent for even more than that, 1,000 if they pop it. So it adds that kind of risk or reward element for your opponent, and I personally prefer it in this to Waking. So that's it for the main deck lineup. We'll go on to the extra deck. So for XYZs, I played 2 of the best monsters in the deck, Assembled Nightingale, then 1 Recital Starling, and 1 Sylvan Princess Sprout. So my general rule with the extra deck is to never play more than 2 unless there is a good reason. Assemble gains 200 attack for every XYZ material attached, and this card can attack directly up to the number of XYZ material attached to it. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach 1 XYZ material from this card, and until the end of the turn, Lyrilusc monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, you take no battle damage. So with Alter, each direct attack will always be 1,000, so you can quite quickly peck your opponents to death. Recital is another Lyrilusc XYZ. So you can target 1 face-up monster on the field. It gains 300 attack and defense for each material used. Usually you'll be using this in conjunction with Assembled. Recital also means that you can have all battle damage you take from battles involving this XYZ is also inflicted to your opponent. So sometimes just crashing this is actually the best option. Finally, Sylvan Princess Sprout is just another good level 1 XYZ. The relevant effect is that you can detach 1 to excavate a card. If it's a spell or trap, it goes to the hand, otherwise it goes to the graveyard. So moving on to fusions. So we have 2 instant fusion targets, 1,000 Eyes Restrict and Lyrilusc Independent Nightingale. Independent can be a win condition for some versions of the deck, and I'd highly recommend checking out some videos with more of a polymerization focus. But here it's mainly just to get another wing beast on the board and some easy burn damage equal to its level time 500, and has some nice built-in protection as it's unaffected by other card effects. I also run ABC Buster Dragon as just a cherries target because I side that, but that's very much up to you. Moving on to the links, I run one Greatfly, which is just a generic wind link which boosts all wind monsters including itself by 400, and all Lyriluscs are wind. I also run a Borrelguard package. So one Link Karibo, one Link Spider, one Proxy Dragon, and one Borrelguard. This is kind of the underappreciated Borrel Link monster, but it is still a 3k beta which cannot be destroyed by card effects and can be a nasty surprise. It also has a quick effect to change a monster to defense, or more relevantly, can send a spell or trap to the graveyard to special summon from either graveyard to your field one monster that was destroyed and sent there that turn. So you may send Contract with Don Thousand or maybe Secret Blast if they aren't doing you much good on the field. Again, you know, they'll make more sense once you see the side. And just finally, I run two Sky Strikers and a Firewall. These are just cherries targets. So that's it for the extra deck. Moving on to the side deck. Even if you're a casual player, you know, playing matches can be super fun, and just having the options to change up the game plan can really give yourself an edge. So in terms of hand traps, I run 3 cherries for the targets on the side. And heaven forbid I end up in a mirror match or a trickstar matchup, I also run 2 Honeywater, which reduces all effect damage you would take to 0 for that turn. So that can be quite useful. In terms of the secondary Time Lord engine, I do also run in the side Gabrion and Camion. I think these are the other 2 best Time Lords to run. Camion has a bounce effect back to the deck which cannot be negated, which is super helpful for problematic cards. And Gabrion can basically shuffle back all of your opponent's monster cards, and they do draw for every card sent back to the main deck, but the key word there is main deck. So if you've got a very link heavy deck you're up against, then Gabrion can be a complete blowout after they've set out a board. Then I run a Kaiju package, again just in case I'm finding I do need that normal summon. Not much to explain there. And then I do run 3 Scapegoat as well, because I think oftentimes if you do find that you've won the first game, your opponent will insist on going second, and Scapegoat again is just a good setup. You'd start with a Time Lord, probably Lazion, set the Scapegoat, use the Scapegoat and go into Borrelguard, which will just be a complete surprise. And in addition to that, again probably the spiciest of the spicy tech in this whole thing, I do side 1 Obelisk the Tormentor, which is a very important card if you are wanting to just completely change up the game plan, because it's quite easy to get 3 monsters on the board. Then you can just normal summon Obelisk. His summon cannot be negated, which can be super helpful for playing around and whatever they've set. And you know, he's just basically a big 4k beater. Most of your monsters have very little attack, so having this as an option just to out a really problematic card is super helpful. So that's it for the deck profile. Please do like and subscribe. Ngā mihi for now, and good night.